Do you feel isolated? Are you struggling with feelings of loneliness? Do you feel disconnected? Are you looking for friends to build community? Life's not meant to be lived alone.
That's right. And that's what we're going to be leaning into is the topic of Phileo love, which is friendship. What does it mean to have brotherly or sisterly love for the people that God has put in your life or wanting to put in your life?
Last month on the FYI podcast, we did a deep dive into singleness, sex, and spirituality. Such a fun series. And it was called Eros, which is the Greek word for romantic love. And building off of that romantic love, you're also, just because you get married, let's just say someday, just because you find that special someone, a significant other, a potential future spouse, courting, dating, that doesn't take away your need for other friends, for other relationships. We're created and wired by the God of the universe to build friends, to have amazing connection and community with other people.
Yeah, so we take a look at John 15:13, and it says this: there is no greater love than to lay down one's life for one's friend. Do you have a friend that you would lay down your life for? Or vice versa. Do you have any friends that would lay down their life for you? Our prayer on this podcast is that you would have deep, meaningful friendship, not only with God, not only with somebody that you're married to or that you're engaged to, but somebody that you could call friend. A friend is who you can call day or night, and they show up in highs and lows, and they're willing to celebrate, come alongside, and love you for who you are and where you're at.
Building friendships and making friends, building community as an adult, it's different than when we were kids.
Totally.
It's different than when you were in high school. It's different, honestly, if you're a college student, just heads up, it's different post-college. As a young adult in your 20s and 30s, it looks different than it does later in life. And so this is a season that we really are hoping that God will unpack some of the building blocks so that you can have a friendly foundation for a contagious community, that you can move from isolated to connected. You can move from lonely to fulfilled relationally. And so these next 4 weeks of the month of March, we're going to do just that. And we're excited about Phileo. We're 150 episodes deep into the FYI podcast, where we unpack, honestly, your questions as the viewer, your questions as the listener, and we talk about faith, life, adulting, relationships, finances, and this month, Phileo, friendships, brotherly, sisterly love. And today's episode is brought to you by the Minnesota Young Adult Weekend, this May 16th through 18th.
We will be meeting at Lake Geneva, where about 200 to 300 young adults gather together to worship, to unplug, to experience deep, meaningful friendships with each other, but also with the Lord. So come sign up, join us. Even if you're by yourself, people sign up all over the state, and they come by themselves and they leave with a group of friends.
So you can visit the link in the show notes. It's youngadults.today/the-WKND. Pumped for the weekend. We want to see you there. And speaking of which, a great resource that we want to put in your hands this month is Fulfill Your Purpose in Your Generation.
Yeah.
And this is a book where you get to discover the life of David. It's said in Acts 16:33 that King David fulfilled the purpose that God had for him in his generation. You're not going to be able to do it alone. You need the help of a Christ-centered relationship with God, and you need others around you. And this book is great. It's a study guide for small groups. It's great as an individual. If you need your next read this spring, the link is in the show notes. You can pick up your copy, Fulfill Your Purpose in Your Generation. And today's episode is presented by
GFA World, one of our favorite sponsors who is part of this podcast. And what it is offering you the potential opportunity to join. If you're called to missions, if you're called to ministry, want hands-on experience, they have 3-month internships where you actually get paid to go learn how to do that. You get to live on campus. The location is down in Texas. And if you want to apply for that program or find out more about that, check that out in the show notes as well.
gfa.org/apprenticeship. And so last thing, y'all, be sure you're dialed in on Instagram at FYI Podcast. Be sure you submit your questions about friendship, loneliness, isolation, building and creating, cultivating contagious community. As a young adult, we're cheering you on. Send in the questions. We'll see you back here every Friday this March. Phileo.